The junkyard stretched out like a graveyard of starships, a sprawling expanse of rusted hulls, shattered engines, and forgotten dreams. It was a place where the galaxy's discarded relics came to rest, and where scavengers like Jack Harper came to find treasure. Jack wasn't a wealthy man, far from it. He was a mechanic with a knack for fixing the unfixable, and a dreamer who believed that one day, he'd find something extraordinary among the ruins. Today was that day. The ship was buried under a mountain of debris, its hull barely visible beneath layers of grime and corrosion. But Jack could see the potential. The design was sleek, even in its ruined state, with curves that suggested speed and power. It was alien, that much was clear, but it was also beautiful. And it was for sale. The junkyard owner, a grizzled Tarkorian with 4 arms and a perpetual scowl, eyed Jack skeptically. "You sure you want that one, human? It's been here for decades. No one's ever been able to get it running." Jack grinned. "That's because no one's tried hard enough." "How much?" The Tarkorian named a price that was more than Jack had in his account, but after some haggling and a promise to return with the rest of the credits, the ship was his. Jack spent the next 3 days clearing away the debris, uncovering the ship's full glory. It was smaller than he'd initially thought, more of a personal cruiser than a warship, but it was perfect. He named it Stellar Salvage. The real work began when he stepped inside. The interior was dark, the air thick with dust and the faint scent of something sweet, like flowers. Jack flicked on his flashlight and began exploring. The ship was in rough shape, but the bones were good. The engine room was a mess, but the core was intact. The cockpit was pristine, the controls alien but intuitive. And then there was the cryopod. Jack froze when he saw it. The pod was tucked away in a corner of the ship, its surface frosted over, the faint glow of life support still active. His heart raced as he approached, wiping away the frost to reveal the figure inside. She was alien, but stunningly so. Her skin was a soft lavender, her hair a cascade of silver that seemed to shimmer even in the dim light. She was slender, with delicate features and long, pointed ears. She looked like she was sleeping, her chest rising and falling in slow, steady breaths. Jack hesitated. He hadn't signed up for this. He'd bought a ship, not a passenger. But he couldn't just leave her here. With a deep breath, he activated the release sequence. The pod hissed as it opened, the cold air rushing out in a cloud of vapor. The alien girl's eyes fluttered open, and she gasped, sitting up abruptly. For a moment, they just stared at each other. Then she spoke, her voice melodic but firm. "Who are you? Where is Captain Valen?" Jack held up his hands, trying to look non-threatening. "Easy there. My name's Jack. I bought this ship. From the junkyard. You've been in that pod for a while." Her eyes narrowed, and she climbed out of the pod with surprising grace. She was taller than he'd expected, nearly his height, and she moved with a fluidity that was almost hypnotic. "You bought my ship," she said, her tone incredulous. "This is my ship. You have no right to it." Jack blinked. "Look, I didn't know you were here. I just wanted to fix it up, maybe take it for a spin. I didn't mean to." "Fix it up," she interrupted, her voice rising. "This ship is a Crylian Starblade. It's not some junker for you to tinker with. It's a piece of my people's history. And it's mine." Jack sighed, running a hand through his hair. Okay. I get it. You're attached to the ship. But I paid for it. Fair and square. If you want it back, you're gonna have to work with me." She crossed her arms, her expression defiant. "Fine. But I'm not leaving. And you're not taking this ship anywhere without me. And so, an uneasy partnership was born. Her name was Lira, and as it turned out, she was the last surviving member of the Crylian Royal Guard. The ship, the Starblade, had been her escape pod during a battle that had wiped out her entire fleet. She'd been in stasis for over a century, waiting for someone to find her. At first, they clashed constantly. Lira was fiercely protective of the ship, and Jack was determined to make it his own. But as they worked together to repair the Starblade, they began to understand each other. Jack taught Lira about human ingenuity, showing her how to jury-rig parts and improvise solutions. Lira, in turn, shared her knowledge of Crylian technology, revealing secrets that made the ship more powerful than Jack had ever imagined. Slowly, the Starblade came back to life. The engines roared to life, the lights flickered on, and the ship's AI, a sassy program named Nova, began to speak. "Welcome back, Captain Lira," it said. "It's been a while." Lira smiled, a rare expression that made Jack's heart skip a beat. "It's good to be back, Nova." But their peace was short-lived. As they prepared for their maiden voyage, a group of scavengers arrived, drawn by rumors of a Crylian ship in the Junkyard. They were ruthless, armed to the teeth, and they wanted the Starblade for themselves. Jack and Lira stood side by side as the scavengers approached, their weapons drawn. "You don't have to do this," Jack said, his voice steady. "We don't want any trouble." The leader, a hulking brute with a cybernetic arm, sneered. "Too bad. Hand over the ship, and we'll let you live." Lira stepped forward, her eyes blazing. "This ship is mine. You'll take it over my dead body." The scavengers laughed, but their laughter died as the Starblade's weapons powered up, targeting them with deadly precision. Nova's voice echoed across the Junkyard. "I suggest you leave. Now." The scavengers hesitated, then turned and fled. Jack let out a breath he hadn't realized he was holding. "Well, that was close." Lira smirked. "I told you this ship was special." As they boarded the Starblade and prepared for takeoff, Jack realized that he'd found more than just a ship. He'd found a partner, a friend, and maybe something more. Lira was unlike anyone he'd ever met, and together, they were unstoppable. The Starblade lifted off, its engines humming with power as it soared into the stars. Jack looked at Lira, who was grinning as she piloted the ship. "So, where to?" he asked. Lira's eyes sparkled. "Wherever the stars take us." And with that, they set off on their adventure, two unlikely companions bound by a shared love for a ship that had brought them together. The galaxy was vast, and their journey was just beginning. But one thing was certain, they were in it together, and nothing could stand in their way.